And we're live. Hey, folks, welcome again back to Soaring Profits. You know us. We're the same two all the time. So it's us. Yep. Folks, so a couple things we want to chat with about today. We've got kind of a crazy week coming down the pipe here with everything that's going on in the world, some of the things that we've kind of talked briefly about before, and we want to kind of go over some of the chart stuff to see what's next. So James and I just kind of, before we logged in here, we were briefly talking about some of the mortgage concerns that are having uh, basically all across the world right now. We've got China in a weird position. We've got the United States and Canada that are very much looking at a housing problem. I'm not going to say a crisis. I think it probably already is, but we've got a real problem. So a few of the things that we want to look at today. Well, James, what did you just fill me in on?
What I was talking about is so I was looking at a news story from a Ontario news site, and they were talking about how they anticipate very shortly that in across Canada wide in all the provinces that housing prices will be dropping it by 15%, and in some provinces they will drop farther than that, and it's due to what you're about to explain to everybody.
Right. So I would argue that's already happened. And I would, when we look at some of the stuff here right now, when we look into the markets, people are hesitant right now. So basically, what I feel is happening right now is that we've had this big run up in pricing, and people are like, they're kind of the FOMO, fear of missing out. So
Right.
they're rushing into this. So what we're seeing now is that some of the data that's out there is really kind of scary with the fact that parents of millennial children are now finding themselves in situations where they're leveraging their own personal assets to help
Right.
their children buy homes, right? You and I have talked about this. It's
Right.
something I want to be able to do for Harlow, to get her on her feet. You want to do it with your guys.
Yeah.
This
But when my dad did it, so my dad did it for me. He
right,
gave me $10,000. So $10,000 back then, because I was 90, whatever, 97.
right,
A lot of money still, but now it's even more. Like you're talking 100,000.
right,
That's a lot coming out of you. Like
right.
for me to do that right now, I probably I could, but it would be hard to recoup that in the short period of time I have left in life. You know.
Right. So in that situation, what we're seeing now is that more and more parents of millennials are leveraging their future, exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
and providing an opportunity for their children now. We didn't see a lot of that in the past generations, right? It's been a little bit more get out and land on your feet because housing prices were just that. They were more accessible for a lot of people. Well, when we see this now that they're leveraging their future and they're leveraging their future buying power, okay? I want you to kind of put yourself in that position. A lot of you guys have young children. A lot of you folks have, kids that are maybe in that, 10 to 25-year-old range. Okay. So if you're in a position now where you're trying to help your child buy something, okay, and especially if you're going to be in a position where you're going to co-sign because they may not have the job requirement, okay, to get the loan, you end up in a situation where you're taking on a massive amount of debt in an inflated market. And what if that market crashes? What if that market pivots away from, like you were saying when we first started off here, this, 15, 20, 25, 30% even potential run back in the market, right? So what that does is, and something we've been talking about for a long time, is about liquidity. Okay. People right now, seeing as their homes have run up so high in perceived value, because so many people haven't made it a real money yet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, for
Like
instance,
in my house right now, it's not real money. Like I
exactly.
have all this liquidity in my house,
Right.
but because I haven't yet, like we were talking about all these different opportunities, but I haven't yet accessed it.
Right.
It's just that it's not real. And as the market drops, I get less and less and less.
Yep.
But say I were to take it out now, say I take 300,000-400,000 now, and then a month from now it drops by 15%. Now I'm behind what my house is worth. My house isn't even worth what I owe.
Right.
If we were to do that.
So let's do a worst case scenario and then we'll bounce from there. Okay. Let's say you take $300,000 or $400,000 out and you bail your children out in a situation where they go out and buy a house. Okay. Now you're tied to that loan.
Mhm.
It drops. Now you're tied to your actual value of your property. It drops. Now you have interest rates go up. You're bankrupt.
Not a good place to be in. No,
You're
not
bankrupt, right?
yeah.
You have no ability to liquidate enough cash flow to get yourself out of these situations. And this is where we're going to get into the charts here in a second. This is where this gets a little bit hairy. And I think that there's a potential that this next year and a half makes the 2008 bubble look like it was kids blowing it on the front porch.
Right.
Now, what does that mean? There's opportunities everywhere, right? There's opportunities to be had everywhere in a market, whether you're shorting something on the way down, whether you're into assets. Like right now, bonds, like, and I don't know if you guys know how bonds work, but bonds are debt, right? So bonds are basically a business or a bank or an institution of some kind that is borrowing money. They said that we'll promise you a return if we can hold your money for this amount of time, right? So in the States, you have your 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year, 30 year bonds, right? So bonds right now are like at 4%. They're all-time highs, right? So if you're going to hold your money into an asset for that amount of time, they'll pay you 4%. And people are rushing to them.
Yeah. And they're not going to make a lot of money. Like 4% is nothing.
Right. The problem is that if the market looks like it's going to go down 40,
right?
Yeah. Your 4 is really good.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Sign me for 4 all day long, right?
Right.
So the issue that really comes up here is, where do you fly to safety, right? I know a lot of people that have looked into the Airbnb market, whether in Canada, United States, other places in the world, and they've purchased properties, right? And it seems like real estate has been such a safe investment that's drove up pricing as well. But what if liquidity dries up in the community and you don't have people that are renting your Airbnb anymore and you're leveraged, right?
It's funny to say that. I was just I was with a group of people on Friday there, and we were having some drinks on a patio, and one of them were talking just that. So they have an opportunity to buy a house very soon, and so they're looking at places that are kind of more touristy. And that was their plan, was to do that, to have Airbnb. And I said, well, you might want to wait, because like, I am not a financial guy. Everyone on this show knows I'm not a financial guy, but my good friend Pat here, I'm getting there. I am getting there. He's been saying that, as our liquidity dries up, as we have to pay more for gas, as we have to pay more for groceries, I'm not going to go to an Airbnb. It's unlikely. Right. So the answer to that they gave me is, well, but everyone's jumping on a plane. I said, yeah, because everyone has money right now.
Right now.
We're talking about 2 months from now, 3 months from now. They're not going to be jumping on planes.
Yeah.
No one agreed with me. And I'm like, okay. Then I walked in. That was fine. But it was a nice conversation. And you know what? It was fantastic. And we talk about this all the time. It was fantastic that I had enough knowledge that I could get in there and have an intelligent conversation about something that I didn't know a whole lot about, but enough that I hope that she goes and looks it up and goes and checks into it, so at least she doesn't get caught. Because I agree with you. I think that that's going to happen. I know it's going to happen for me. I'm not looking to travel anytime soon, and I make pretty good money.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah, you individually make, approximately double the average income in Canada, right? So when we start putting that onto single families that are itching to get the kids out of Disney, Disney stock has crashed.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's way back to pre-pandemic levels where they ran way up. And the problem is right now is that people are stopping spending. We have a debt crisis that's occurring in the States right now as well, where people are running out of their credit. So they're running out of cash, not changing their spending styles, and running massive credit card problems. So this is where this all becomes a bit of a perfect storm of what's kind of coming down the pipe. And then you take into account food shortages, oil shortages, commodity shortages, all of this stuff.
Yep.
It's a little dicey.
It's a little tight. Yeah.
It's a little tight. Okay. So one of the things that I want to pull up here, and we will, I'll bring it up here while I whoop.
And the problem is that we have been fluid with money for so long. It's been a long time since money has been an issue, like a real issue for the majority of people. Like there have been people who have had money issues, but it's been a long time since the majority has had money issues, where it's been hard to buy groceries. It's been hard to buy gas. Like maybe when I was a kid, it was like that. It's been forever. So it's going to be hard for them to pivot out of that. And you might run up your debt thinking that it's going to come around.
100%. Well, you've had over the last number of years here, we've had food security. We've had, like, I know COVID, but like there was never a real concern for most families that they weren't going to go to the pantry and get food. Government stepped in and made stimulus money available, all this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is now is all that's gone away because there's too much money there and the supply chain's broken. So where does that go from here? So what I pulled up here, this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, okay? So when we look at this and we chart it out, we see the big run up here. Well, here, let's even go back. Let's go to a 5-year.
Wow, holy.
Right?
Great, yeah.
So this is the 5-year on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, okay?
Right.
You see these? These are like higher highs, higher highs, higher highs. Yes, it has pullbacks. Yep, like everything, it corrects, right? Hitting these support levels. This here was the liquidity issues before Trump's election. They didn't really know if we were going to go into a recession. There's been lots of talk about recession for a long time, right? The issue is that a lot of people believe that after 2008, we were creating a bubble, but we just kept blowing into it. We kept blowing more money into it, which expanded and expanded and expanded because it was too big to fail, right?
Yeah.
Well, now we get COVID. We get this massive crash down here. RSI is way oversold. And then we start printing money, baby. Times we're going to
RSI.
Sorry?
You said RSI is way oversold. I don't know what RSI is.
So this is your relative strength index down on the bottom. Can you see this, Papa?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. So this down here is way oversold. Remember we talk about overbought territories and oversold territories.
Okay.
So these here on a 5-year chart, Dow Jones Industrial, you buy here, you're a psychopath because you time the market. Good for you. You're nuts. But if you start seeing how these trend down, it breaks through everything, cuts through butter through these supports, right?
Yeah.
These are your averages. So this is your 50-day moving average, your 200-day moving average. So these are just averages of the price of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right? Back in January of 2020. Now you get in here to March of 2020 and it just cuts right through it, okay? So now we're going to pull up where we are. Let's make this a little bigger so everyone can see what we're talking about. Let's do a 1 year. Right. So we have the run up. Okay. This is the 1 year. We have the run up and then we have a double top here and a pullback. Okay. So what we're doing is we're looking through here to find supports and resistances. The RSI is turned and heading down. We're seeing that obviously here in the turning down. But what we're hoping is that we're going to catch support here. Okay. Remember when we talked at the last economic crisis when we, talked about COVID, we talked about the liquidity crisis when Trump was president, how it cut through the support.
Yeah.
This is where this week could be. This could be an event where the Federal Reserve is going to come out and they're going to give their next 6 months of financial views to the market.
Right.
Well, we've talked about this lots before. The only time in the history of monetary policy that we're in right now that the stock market has pulled back around in a bear market is when the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank, and Jerome Powell, or the Fed chair at the time, flips. And when right now they're very bearish, they're trying to take money and liquidity out of the market. Well, what's changed? Do we think that tomorrow or on Wednesday is when Jerome Powell will be doing this? Yeah. Do we think that he's going to come out and be like, everything's good, folks. We're fine. We have record inflation. The last week's inflation read blew our numbers out of the water. Like, we're not even sure who's looking at this stuff anymore because they're so far off.
Right.
Like, do you think they're going to come out and be like, everything's good?
We're good. We're good. You're going to see here, folks. Carry on.
They're going to come along and they're going to say, we have lots of hurdles. We're going to take action to rectify these problems. And that's the worst thing that we can hear as consumers, as people that are mortgage, car, anyone that has any money at all, right? When he says he wants to fix things, whenever the government tells you that they're going to solve a problem, you got to go, oh.
Because like you said, they only have so many tools to solve problems.
This is the hammer. Okay? This is where we're going to get hammered.
Yeah.
So so that's the Dow Jones. Okay. This now is the S&P 500. This is, again, a nightmare as well. We've charted this out before. This looks like back here in March or April, it looks like I've charted this, and we are on that path, right? I was looking that it would get support, resistance, come back down, and we would see this flush down. From here we are today, down, right? So Where do I see that occurring down to? Well, this looks like we're going to take some time channeling down in this direction, but we're probably going to hit this level February 2023. So from here, this is a massive sector.
What size of drop is that? I was just going to ask you. What are we talking there?
That's exactly what I'm pulling up.
Yeah.
So from where we are now to there is an additional 12%. Okay.
That's
so
huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But is it going to be all we're going to lose? Okay. So this is what we've lost so far on this. And people are like, oh, we're not really sure. I think everything's going to be okay.
Right.
Right. So we're down 18% now. We've got about another bear market to go. Right. So that puts us in that 30+% range of this stock market fall.
Yeah.
This all starts to get a little bit hairy, a little bit scary. And what do you do about it?
We haven't solved any problems at all in the world. Like Russia's still fighting, China's still struggling. We still are coming up to food problems. Our gas prices, like you're saying, of the barrels going up. Like all of our problems seem to be intensifying, not getting better. So it's not like there's something that's going to trigger us up.
Right. 100%. What is our next move? Where do we go from here? Right.
Yeah.
So this is the NASDAQ. Okay. You can see where we've kind of chalked this up before. Head and shoulder pattern, flush down. This was our original original movement marker. Almost hit it to the pixel. And then these here were drawings that I put on because I figured these were the two paths
that it could go
of potential, right?
Right.
It didn't even quite get to my drawing before it's pulled back. This pull back here, I figured would be a little bit farther out. We're hitting it sharper. Do I think that this support level gets held down here?
Probably not.
Likely not.
Not when everything else is not holding their supports.
Exactly. Right. So when we measure that out, even if we do get a support at the next level, let's give it a few days, we're still looking at another 7% on the NASDAQ. What is changing? No good news is coming. Revlon, right? I was talking, we had lunch today. Revlon. Everybody Revlon. Revlon.
It's been around for years. Makeup for years and years and years. I was a kid when I knew about Revlon.
Right. So Revlon is filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. All of these companies that are finding themselves now wondering where their margins are going to come from are getting skunked. Now Revlon has like 5,700 employees.
So sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't know that everyone knows what a margin is for a company.
Well, margin is your difference between profit and loss.
Right.
So if you're a profitable entity, right, that's the difference between your gross income and your net profit, right? And you basically put it to a percentage. Right. So your margin is how based on a percentage, how profitable you are.
Right.
These companies, we talked about this concept earlier, but zombie corps, zombie companies. Revlon is now a zombie company. Revlon.
And it's a staple. Revlon has been a staple for years and years and years.
Which one's next?
Yeah.
Right. So now you take 5,700 families without a paycheck. Okay. Yeah. American Airlines. We've talked about American Airlines before.
Yeah.
This is going to get dicey. Now, those people own homes. Revlon, you probably had a pretty good job, a pretty good income source, all that, right? Well, they now put their house up for sale. Everyone I talk to, and I love my real estate agent people and all that sort of thing, they're all like, yeah, but we got so much supply. There's too much demand. We don't have enough supply. Sorry. There's not enough houses for how many people need a house.
At this moment.
Sorry?
At this moment, yeah, I guess. Right. But sorry, I'm cutting you off, but like if you look around our town right now, I drive around. I like driving around, and I would see like on Monday, I'd see a for sale sign go up. Tuesday, Wednesday, it'd be sold. I'm seeing weeks where houses are being sold now.
Yeah,
weeks, and so I follow a few real estate people. You and I both do, and now they're like trying to convince people why it's good to buy. Like they're putting out all these little snippets and movies. Oh, it's the greatest time to buy and stuff like that. they haven't done that in quite a while. Like they're advertising now. They haven't had to advertise at all.
Yeah. So what do real estate agents do? They sell the house they have.
Yeah.
So if they don't have any houses, every house is a house for you. Yeah. If they all of a sudden have houses, lots of houses, it becomes a buyer's market. We'll get the perfect deal for you, right? And they are constantly pivoting between bull and bear markets in real estate. This is a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
The problem is that we are seeing in my opinion, this is not financial advice.
No.
We are seeing the last leg at the top of buyers that have liquidity, have a debt to income ratio that allows them to be able to borrow against their other value, their other assets, their other equity, and have cash. Okay.
Yeah.
We see the movement go up. We see a top that gets sideways before the rundown. We've seen it time and time and time again. We're seeing time on market increasing. We are seeing the amount of reduced prices exponentially rise. That was not even a thing before.
Yeah.
Right? The time of these bidding wars were hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking.
Yes.
Very, very few and far between.
I know of people who had to sell their houses less. Right. And have had to drop their houses. And another interesting thing, because I have gone for a mortgage in the last little while, they didn't look at my mortgage at this interest rate. They looked at my mortgage at a higher interest rate. So I had to catch that higher interest rate. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got a mortgage. And I found that interesting because that's never been the case ever. Any other time I've tried to get a mortgage, it's just whatever the interest rate is now. But they were very, very clear that no, we're not going to do this is the interest rate you'll get, but you have to qualify for this interest rate.
Right.
And I thought that was interesting because you're forecasting that eventually one day I'm going to pay this bigger interest rate and you don't want to get caught with my house. Right.
Well, so I think that I would argue that the consumers, we talked briefly about this the other day on one of my, I can't remember what it was, but Michigan University does the University of Michigan. Do not mix the two up. They are
very different.
Yeah. They do a consumer sentiment census. Okay. Mm-hmm. The consumer census right now is saying that 41% of Americans believe that the economy is able to even stand on its own in the United States right now.
Wow.
That's 60% of the people are like, it ain't good, brother.
Wow. And that would be 60%. You're talking people who don't know. They would be people like me that don't know a lot about finances, don't know a lot about market. That's just them suffering real life.
Yep. That's gas prices running through the roof. That's Fox News saying that, Joe Biden's causing inflation. That's CNN going and saying that, this is the important
killing economy. Yeah.
So this is where you've got to take your information and you've got to you've got to digest it yourself. And you have to understand where we're going, okay? So when we see that these markets are turning and flipping, this week, I think is going to be a bloodbath in the markets. I think that this week, when Jerome talks, whenever Jerome opens his mouth, we end up getting hammered, just hammered. So this is a situation in which I still don't think we've seen this capitulation from retail investment, right? We haven't had everyone go, oh, I'm done. And a lot of these retail stocks are down 70, 80%. And people are like, I'm still buying. I'm still buying.
That's just it. Although people are just starting around me, just in my local area, talking about prices being crappy and stuff like that, it's still a sense of, it is what it is. I got to drive. I got to eat. It's not it hasn't hit that. Like you and I are doing that, but most people are just like, it is what it is, because I think they really expect it's going to get better. And we're at 207 now for gas, and they're talking very soon it'll be 220.
Well, okay,
so it's already double what I should pay, right?
Yeah. Let's revert that from a liter, 207 to let's call it 210.
Right.
When you convert that to a gallon, and the Americans are losing their shit. They're $5 a gallon. We're $9, and we're just eating it.
Just taking it. Yeah.
We're taking it right on the chin, right? Yeah. There's Trudeau, and he's on my face. Everyone's just it's fine.
And a lot of that is that carbon tax. Like, I have no idea why he hasn't removed that carbon tax now. People are hurting. I don't get it. I get when we're a strong economy, we're doing really well. Let's put that carbon tax on. We need to do stuff like that. But when we're hurting, like, you got to start helping your people out somehow. Like, and my resident taxes, Craig and I were just talking about that. They just went up again here. You know, so it's just none of them are helping us.
Politically, it would be devastating if Trudeau had to step back and go, right, we cannot do this right now. It would be suicide.
He's already cut his throat already, so why not do it? And he might have a chance, because then people would feel the knee off the throat, as you like to say. At least they get the knee off the throat, and then people might start liking him, which they don't.
That would mean that that the government in his position is a benevolent force.
Sure.
Right. That's not what they're doing here. They are going through a painful execution of behavior modification.
Right. That is what you keep on saying. And you know what? Although I can't believe that a government would do that to a people, where they're forcibly trying to starve them and try to hurt them, try to remove the money for the profit. I understand the reason why you think that. I still struggle with that. I still feel that our government will be helping us soon. I like to believe that.
What historical precedent makes you be that joyous in your viewpoint?
Because I believe people are good. And I don't believe people, even a group of people.
Agree that people themselves are good.
Yeah.
Do believe, however, that power corrupts, and all power corrupts.
I believe power corrupts. I agree with you. Power does corrupt. But I think when it comes to, like, people are really, really hurting, I think that old school way, why you got into politics, why you just started to do things, it clicks. And I really do think we're going to see some changes. I really freaking hope so, because my government bailed out GM and what was that other company?
In Canada?
In Canada. It was GM and
Loblaw, the big one they did.
Yeah. When they were hurting. So.
But they're too big to fail, James.
Well, we're too big to fail.
Nope.
We're a whole country. We're a whole mass of people.
Nope.
You don't think so?
Nope. And the reason why I don't think so is that you're going to see social responsibility kick back onto individuals here very shortly. We've been a collective, we've been a group, we've been all these sorts of things for a very long time. You're going to see political entities be like, hey, you're responsible for your life and your family's livelihood and all that sort of thing. You're going to see pivots over I would say the next, 5 or 6 months, you're going to start to see that
it is. Just saw it in Ontario. We literally saw it in Ontario, where the Liberals were saying all the stuff that the Conservatives were going to take away.
Yeah.
Hospitals, teachers stuff, education stuff, like services.
Yeah.
And we voted them in a majority.
Right.
So that's a whole Ontario telling our government, we need to cut back, right? So we're already seeing it. People are already saying, enough's enough. Let's start trying to make a plan. And we always do that. Canada's always been that way. The Liberals come in, they spend a little bit, and then rightly so, because we need those services. And I will always say that. I know you and I disagree on that, but we need those services. We need those bump ups to education and hospitals and et cetera. But then there comes a time when the economy goes bad that we have to start thinking, and we're in that time. And so the Conservative government in the past has been the best man for the
the best. Just, I thought that's what you said. I just wanted to clarify exactly.
Yeah, it's not like we have it on tape or anything.
So I could put it on like Instagram or something.
Show it to all my Liberal buddies.
Right. Your buddy saying? Yeah. No, I think that you're going to see massive policy differences over the next little while here, and I think it's going to come sooner than later. And I'm concerned with what you and I talked briefly about this the other day, but Trudeau with the CRTC is trying to bring in a lot of censorship about information. So like something like us on our podcast,
Yeah.
his ability to come out and make sure that, for instance, myself might be censored and we're shut down because of my views and I disagree with them. And this is something to look up, folks. Like this is I think
Yeah.
it's Bill C-11, I think is what it is. And it is basically a militarization of the CRTC, which is the government entity that controls radio communications. Well, they're trying to say that the internet now is a form of radio communications and we should therefore govern it in some capacity.
So Pat's kind of taken it to the far. So it could. They very well could.
But again, I go back to like, what precedent would they not
stop everything? But in the past, when the Canadian government like took over TV broadcasts, etc., what they drove was Canadian content. They wanted, you had to have this much Canadian content. It had to have these kind of levels. We didn't want certain things shown on the TV, and rightly so. Some of the things they chose, you wouldn't want your daughter to see, right? There were certain times of the day that you could play things, and certain times of the day you could not play things because children would be apt to see them.
Right.
So I think that's more what they're trying to do. They're trying to look at the internet and go, okay, so maybe they'll come in with times, like these certain videos can't be shown during this time, the blood, the gore, the violence, the sex, that kind of thing. I don't know what they're going to do, but you're right. They do have, it does seem that they will have a lot of power if it comes in the way it is. Like they always
go back to you, man, and I go,
you're negotiating for everything, and then you end up with like, a little bit.
Right. But I go back to you and I say, okay, so we just went through a lockdown of the Canadian country.
Yep.
We just went through a terrorist agenda with the truckers, right? Those people are terrorists now.
The removal of rights is what we went through.
Right. And that's what I'm boiling down to. So
yeah, absolutely.
If you believe that your government is a benevolent government, they would not be doing that. So this is a next logical step in authoritarian regimes. This is a next step.
And so I know other countries. So I think it was during was it the Arab Spring that they shut off availability to the internet. I believe that's what it was, or they stopped them from being able to search things,
right?
Because they were using the platforms to be able to mobilize and go different places.
Right.
Backfired on them huge, because what ended up happening is that the older people and the other people that weren't even involved were like, wait a second, why can't I watch my things? What's going on? And then they found out what was going on and they ended up joining. It like actually increased the movement, not decreased the movement. So we have examples like that. So I just don't see that would be a thing.
Well, but this is the time to do this. If you were a dictatorial individual, you just went through a process where if you disagree, like on the social whole, if you were to ask, 100 of your friends and 100 of my friends, if you were to rebel against the Canadian government right now, how would the rest of your friends see you? And the word probably terrorist would come right to your mind, right?
Yeah.
So if you were going to funnel something down the people's throat, right now is the time to do it. Politically speaking.
We are in a political environment that if you don't side with the I don't know, whatever the opinion is that we think is the majority, which is not, then you are a terrorist, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're whatever the buzzword is, so that you can't be heard. And we'll shut you down, we'll remove you. That is happening, unfortunately. But do you really think they can do that en masse?
Yes.
Do you really think that the average person, because that's what you're looking at. So you're looking at,
and you said
people like me who I've lost my will to fight anybody. I don't want to fight a government. I don't want to fight for a cause. When I was younger, when I was 20, when I was like you, baby face, I fought for causes. I would go out and I would sign petitions and I'd do things and I'd shout at the sky. I don't know. But now I'm like, I don't know. I'm just working and I'm making money and I want to go on my boat. I don't care.
Tell me again why it's not the perfect time to pull shit like that.
Just wait. So now they start messing with the things that I enjoy. Right. They stop. So not me, because I do other things, but back 6 years ago, if my internet stopped showing me the things I wanted to see, then I would raise my head. because now you're messing with my comfort. And this is how psychology works. As long as you don't mess with my comfort, the majority of people don't mess with their comfort, they will not lift their heads and they will not fight you. So if you were going to do something like that, you'd have to do it like you're boiling a frog.
You mean like have a pandemic lockdown and then put it in?
No. So like a slow process. So to do it, you'd have to bring in the law, and then you'd have to slowly start restricting. So, you know what? I can't watch this anymore, but I can watch these things. And then it would, smaller, just like the boiling frog. The frog doesn't know that it's boiling because the water was cold when it went in. And as it boils, it doesn't know it's about to die because it's just getting used to the water as it goes up, right? And then it dies. It would have to be something like that, because if you did it quickly, like you're suggesting, then people would rise up and get upset. That's the point that people get upset, is when
I'm not suggesting that this is a fast thing. I'm suggesting we've been doing it for 30 years. This is the frog. This is the frog.
What years ago? What caused that? Like, what things have you seen that you're saying that they're taking away? Like what things?
Can an unvaccinated Canadian get on a plane, train, or bus in Canada?
Yes.
No.
You can get on a train or bus in Canada.
Nope.
As long as you're staying in Canada.
Nope.
Are you sure?
100%.
I've never been asked to get on. So I haven't been on a train. So you're right. I don't know what that is. But I've never been asked for a vaccine on a bus.
Have you been on a bus lately?
Like a city bus?
No. I'm saying like a Greyhound type bus.
Greyhound, where I'm going from Toronto to like Halifax.
Transit travel bus.
Right. No, I don't. I haven't. So
you cannot get on it.
I have nothing for that. I'm sorry. Right. But I got nothing. So there were there were reasons for that, and there were lots.
Are there still even, like, no matter where you stand, there's not.
I'm sorry, I can't say there were. There were reasons for that, and we should have that. But I think we're still dealing with a certain type of fear, and people are still afraid. So I think that's why they're still in place. It's because people would be afraid to get on a bus with a bunch of people not wearing masks.
I keep expressing boiling frog scenarios, and you keep blowing them off as, it's fine. I just haven't decided if you are like a frog or a toad or what's going on
here. It's more warm. What's going on? Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Now you said 30 years, but we'll go your shirt front. Sure. Yeah. And we have been restricted, told how to. So you could argue in your tinfoil hat moment that the last 2 years have been preparing us for something, because you're saying, and I don't think it was. I think we had a pandemic. People dealt with it. But I can see. So in every conspiracy theory, there's always fact that's twisted. And I think that's what's happening here. I think that good people knew what to do in the face of pandemic, and they made some mistakes along the way. And some of the mistakes we're still making because we haven't lifted enough restrictions. Like, we should be lifted now. Like, it's not the scary disease it was before. We should be on the other side of it now. But during the first year and the first year and a half, we needed to be locked down. We needed the masks in the buses. We needed the masks to get out. I wanted people in a plane with me vaccinated. That's what most people want it, because then you're safer. Not safe, never safe, safer. Like, even the mask, the paper mask that everyone was toting around, or even the cloth mask that most people were wearing, was like a 5% protection. Ridiculous. They were saying we were protected. Yeah, 5%. You were mostly protecting other people. Like, it was mostly stopping it from coming out. But getting in, you're 5%. Swap. But anyway, I think that's why it would happen. I think that's why it happened. I don't think it's a boiling frog scenario like we're making up here. I think that's why it happened. And now we're moving on, and we're just slow to get out of it. but we're starting to.
But what is our move on to?
So right now, I would say there are so people where I work, there would be a 25% that still wear their masks in all situations. Mm-hmm. That's pretty high. When you go out in the community, there's probably 25% at your Walmart, 25% at your grocery store still wearing masks. There's still people that are highly afraid, and as a government, you have to ease that fear until the majority of people feel safe, and then you can pull back. I think if they pulled back now, people would be still pretty upset.
The loss of human rights that are encompassed in the Constitution of Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedom, to be infringed upon for the perceived safety of a minority group of people is the exact thing 100 years ago we fought wars over. And now we sit here and go, do it for them. Do it for them.
I do see what you're saying.
For them.
Yeah.
And this is where
they should just come out and say you guys are safe, which they haven't said. And that's kind of a problem too. But if they came out and said, we know you're safe, it's going to be fine. These are the symptoms. The death rate is not a thing anymore. There's still people dying, but it's not like a pandemic-wide death threat. You're safe, and then said we're going to remove. They still can't remove flying into the States because the States still have laws about it, don't they?
If you're flying on an American Airlines, you don't have to wear a mask.
So in America, they don't have. So I didn't know that.
Because they got guns.
Because they got guns.
No, I really do. At the end of the day, the gun argument in the United States, and this is raw
right now, so be careful, buddy.
Sorry?
It's raw right now, so be careful.
That's what I mean. This is a timely discussion.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to the same precedent of safety. My rights don't end at your safety threshold. Right?
No, I see what you're saying.
Murder is terrible. Murder is awful. There's
awful.
Millions of people murdered across the world every year. Murder is awful.
Yeah.
But the United States is a nation because in their founding documents, which every nation in the world has them, that creates their laws, creates everything, they decided that, hey, we just fought the world's greatest military superpower that at the time had ever existed because they were tyrannical against us. They were taxation without representation. They were
taking resources.
Oh, it was wild.
Really?
Right?
Yeah.
So they rose up and fought against a tyrannical force, and they realized, hey, shit, that could happen again. That could be us. That could be the founding fathers. If we become tyrannical, the people need to be able to defend themselves, their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Right.
That's big, right?
I know. I see what you're saying, but I don't think in this day and era that could even happen. I just don't.
They just locked us down.
I know. No.
So if I disagree with the lockdown and I get 5 million people to agree with me that the lockdown is tyrannical, we can arm and we can overthrow the government. That is the
That's what it is about having guns. I understand what you're saying.
And that's why the United States doesn't.
Bloodbath that would follow would be unprecedented. Wouldn't it be better if you had the same amount of people go to the government and try to change the laws, run for office and change it? Wouldn't that be better? A peaceful solution? Because that's what we've built in a democracy, that everyone can be heard. So why wouldn't you go? All of us.
Right.
So a big group of us.
But now they're censoring your views.
Guns.
They're censoring your views where you don't get the opportunity to have your opinion anymore. The First Amendment is freedom of speech in the United States of America.
True.
And if that fails,
also in the Charter of Rights of Canada,
we do have freedom of speech. We just don't have the same level of freedom of speech. We don't have guns. Anyways, I understand that's
the same level of freedom. How are you saying the state's freedom of speech? Come on, what can't you say? I'm not talking about on the. So in these platforms, there are things we can and cannot say because they're businesses and they have the right to shut us down, apparently. But on the street, for the most part, we can say whatever the heck we want. As
Nope.
long as it's not hurting anyone or threatening to hurt anyone, we can say
But,
whatever.
but our words are now threatening and violence, and they can be used as violence. And this goes back to Jordan Peterson when he was talking about compelled speech.
I agree with Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
Right. So we are not in a situation in which our speech laws, our freedom of speech, are not being infringed on, and that is problematic. And that is the frog. That is the frog boiling, because when
it did not affect us the way he thought it would. Like, to be fair. So I agreed with Jordan Peterson in the fact that we shouldn't be forced by Canada law to call someone something like he, she, they, whatever. But moral law should be that, like we all should, whatever you want to be called, we should call you that. But when law imposes speech for whatever reason, even though this was a good reason, like we're trying to help people who are transgender, I get it. I get the whole concept. But to be forced to do that by law, that you can be fined, or like, I don't remember what the result was if you were purposely in a position of power not calling them by the right name. I don't remember, but there was a fine or something attached to it. So I agreed with that part of what Jordan Peterson was saying, but the law went in. What's different? What has changed? How many people have been taken to task?
I would argue that civil liability, and especially in employment standards law, has been absolutely taken to task.
You think?
100%. I could pull up a couple instances, but I know that there have been instances where organizations have been sued for massive monetary losses and won. Massive. Because
so I'm not aware of that, but
I'm gonna look it up.
No, that is a problem. That is it. Yeah, it shouldn't be. Yeah. Anyway, so I agree with you. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech is freedom of speech. If you are not saying, I want to murder you, I want to kill you, I want to, stop you from, I don't know, employment because of who you are, like, those are the key factors. If it's just language, I don't know, call me a butthead, call me whatever the heck you want. That's on me. Like, I've lived a long life. I struggled with weight. So when someone calls me fat or anything in that area, it hurts me quite a bit, more than you would think. So I get the pain level, even though I've talked to people who are transgender and they say it's not the same. Maybe it's not. But I wouldn't want the Canadian government to force people not to say it, because it is not, it's not violence. Like, it's not something we need. We need other things to be laws. I don't know if any of that just made sense. What was that chart you just threw up?
Just again.
Yep.
Section 319(2) of the Criminal Code of Canada, promoting hatred, makes it an offense to willfully promote hatred against an identifiable group, making statements other than in private conversations. The Crown prosecutor can proceed either by indictment or summary conviction, is imprisonment of not more than 2 years.
Right. But that's saying, so you'd have to prove.
Right. I didn't go deep enough because we're live right now to
yeah, we don't have time to do that.
Right.
Because when we're talking about this, we're going to talk about the brutality of the market, not the brutality of humanity.
Right. Well, all the same.
Well, we sometimes, I don't know,
right.
Every once in a while, not often.
So the criminal hate speech laws, and while there should be, something in regards to that, that's a willy vanilla broad-based statement.
So I have trouble with those laws because, and these are the reasons I had. So when I was younger and I get into a fight, maybe at a bar or something, and you were super angry. So you would say something derogatory, maybe about, you call the other person homosexual or something like that. And then you have a fight.
Hang him!
And you beat him up. Now, when the police come to investigate it, it's not just violence. It is actually a hate crime.
Right.
But that's not the intent necessarily. Now, if the intent was I'm searching and seeking out homosexuals to beat them up, That's what the law was for. But I know of cases where someone like has just yelled out, "You're a blah blah blah," and now it's a hate crime. But that's not what that was, you know. So I do have a problem with that as well. The law is needed because at one time, when I was a young man, not that long ago, people did hunt homosexuals for the reason to beat them up after the bar, or they hunted black people, or they hunted Asians for the specific reason to beat them up. So we need that law.
In your lifetime, you're 90 years on this planet.
90 years. 90 years. That's a great friend.
Recall a time in which people left the bar and were like, we're going to go get those black guys over there.
Me?
No. Like you knew a group of guys that would leave the bar and be like,
I had seen it.
Black guys.
But I had seen it. Yes.
Like we're going to go over and beat up those black guys.
Yeah.
That is so foreign and obtuse to me that that is just
that's what I'm telling you. And my dad's generation, because we're Lebanese, he had that problem in St. John, New Brunswick. Like St. John, New Brunswick is a lovely town, but he told me how there were situations where being Lebanese was dangerous.
So as an Irish Catholic,
yeah,
there was the Protestants and the Catholics.
Yes.
Everybody's got their people. But I can't go, like, at no point in my life ever was it go get that group of guys over there for that specific racial identity.
You're right, because we have laws in place to prevent that.
But those didn't come into place. Those didn't come into place until like 2008, 2009. Like the racial identity laws around hate crimes. Yeah, I'll pull that up.
I think hate crimes came in before then. I think they added homosexuality and stuff like that much later. You're right. They probably did add it later, but I think racial hate crimes was way earlier than that. I don't know for a fact. But
it was in the early 2000s.
Yes, that was a thing where people would hunt other races. And I don't know, but I'm sure other races did it to other people. Like, I don't know why people are that angry, but it was a thing. It's real, and we needed laws for it. But now we're taking that law to extreme where, you know, as a teenager, 18, 19, you don't know what you're saying. You just say stuff because you're angry. Right. And now it's a hate crime. I have a problem with that.
So the initial hate crime laws came in the 70s, but then I have like
verbal. And so born 1970. So I'm telling you, that's what was happening.
So Roe versus Keegstra is 1990.
God, that Roe guy is a busy guy. Well, while he's looking this up, I want to let you know that Thursday Night Live, Thursday night, Dinner Table Soaring Profits Live. So last week we had a Mike, and he was all about Reiki. This week we have another Mike because we're going to stick to the Mike theory. It saves on costs for marketing. But anyway, this guy is a truist guru. He's an entrepreneur. He started a business, and I believe he sold the business and has done well for himself. He's one hell of a guy, good talker, and he's just launching a travel business. He's also a content creator on YouTube and maybe Instagram and some other things. And I'm really excited to have him on. He's a friend of mine's husband, and the chats that I've had with him sitting at the bar, sitting at some parties and stuff have just been very engaging and fun. And I can't wait. So he'll be here at 9:00 Thursday, Soaring Profits Live around the dinner table. Come join us. That'll be episode 2. If you ding that bell right now, when Thursday happens, it'll ding for you and remind you. So that would be great if you did that. But you're gonna love him. He's
sick.
He and his wife both are in the video, and they're the videos that he does, and they're super cute. They're a cute couple, and they travel around the world together, and they really explore things that you and I don't get to see, you know, because they're just so friendly and stuff that they talk to people and they get led into. But I'll let him explain it. But come in, you'll learn more about travel than you ever heard, and then we'll dive into all these other topics that are, you know, that the Soaring Profits love, because he's knowledgeable about those too. You know us, we'll be all over.
That's right. Yeah.
How are we doing?
06.
Right. When they added homosexuality laws, is that what you're saying?
So the verbal hate crime.
Right. Yeah.
No, I go back to that with, this was Trudeau's father, and Trudeau's father instilled the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and there was a lot of people that, thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you've got the viewpoint of his son
Mhm.
that I would argue against is maybe he's carving out his own little niche. I can't get on board with him. It blows me away.
A lot of people can't get on board. A lot of liberals can't get on board with him. So he will not win another election.
No.
There's not a chance. I really am hoping that my liberals change leadership, because I think they're making a lot of mistakes right now. Right. I think we need to get back to the core values that we once were, and we will be far more successful. But
that's a lot coming from you.
Personal opinion.
Yeah, that's a lot. I appreciate that. No. Mm-hmm. Well, pal, we're just about that 55 minutes mark.
So, yeah, I think another great talk about finances and the market, because we stuck to that topic the whole time.
So basically, long story short, this week, I think it's going to be a bloodbath. If you're in a position where you're looking to buy a house here in the next little while,
be careful. Make sure you're not overbuying. Don't overprice. Don't think you need to get drugged, because not all there's a lot of great realtors, but not all of them are created equal, and they could get you drawn into a price war that you don't need to be drawn into. So I'd be a little bit more careful. Really do your due diligence. Look around at other houses that are the same, and make sure it's the right price.
No, as far as advice in that sort of position is that don't fall in love with a house.
No.
Right. This is going to be an asset that's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, by the time you finish paying for it. Mm-hmm. You have to make a business decision. Yeah. If it's not a business decision and you love the granite countertops and you buy the house because it's got the +1 in the bathroom, right? You're going to pay through your eye and potentially leverage your entire financial future because of it. Yes. So,
and I'm telling you right now, any house can become any house. I've completely changed my house.
Right.
You can do it.
Yeah.
It takes time and a little bit more money. So if you see a countertop you love, take a picture of it, walk away, buy it, and put it in the new house. Whatever house you get. There's nothing. The big bathtub, you can put it in. It got a giant one. Whatever you don't get.
You did a very good job on your beautiful bathroom renovation there. It was very lovely. Yep. No, it's one of the things when I did my place, when I first bought it, doing that bathroom downstairs, I'm like, I really like that big old sprawled out tub. So that's what we did. We just had like the tub over in huge, like soaker type tub kind of thing.
You have it beautiful. It's kind of like antique almost. It's beautiful. I love it. Mine's more modern.
I'm a tub guy.
Has some jets.
Like I would sit in the tub all day, every day. Like if I could get paid to work out of the tub, I would do it.
It'd be great if we could figure out a way. And so you get my son on it. There's probably a program he can write.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. All right, folks. Well, as always, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Live from the bathtub. Could happen.
That's one of those censorship items that I think Trudeau is trying to fish out.
Right. Okay, sir. As always, head on in.
That's it. Yeah. So thanks, guys, again. Like, subscribe, share. Click that bell for when we do some more of these live pieces. And like I say, Thursday night, we're going to be doing another live with a different mic. Mike squared here. And let's see if we can get a third mic cubed.
We need another mic. Yeah.
We'll get some more mics.
Yeah.
We're like so generic white guy names and stuff like that too, right?
But we have a wonderful woman that is in the that's might be coming. She's going to be great, all about business.
Right.
We have a lot of people coming in that have a variety of different levels of education experience. We might bring in someone who's an expert in religion. It's going to be, keep watching. It's going to be really interesting. Every Thursday, we're going to bring in someone new, and it's going to be live, and it is what it is. And you can ask us questions. There's a way of doing that, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. It's down the bottom in the comments. Throw them up there. We get to see them. We can post them up here, and we can answer through. So, like I say, folks, as always, thank you. And James, your little spiel.
No, I'm not saying it because last time you said it was bullshit. So I'm not falling for that.
Well, and I'll do with my spiel. Let's try to make some money together, folks. As always,
bad bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah. And I get to press the button, so I get to rebut. So I get to rebut right